Under the soft glow of the late afternoon sun, the Cascade Mountains loomed in the distance, majestic, with their snow-capped peaks tinted rose gold as the sun sank low. At the old Henderson farmhouse, Patricia Henderson moved about her familiar kitchen with determined precision. She stood at the counter, her eyes fixed on the landscape beyond the large, time-worn windows. The long shadows danced upon the worn linoleum floor as she slid a casserole into the oven. The farmhouse, steeped in memories of simpler days, was both a refuge and a stage for the unfolding drama of a family reuniting after years of separation. Today, however, that calm was punctured by the unexpected arrival of Madison Maddie Chen, a daughter whose return was as bittersweet as it was overdue. Clad in sleek Seattle business attire and designer boots that contrasted sharply with the rustic environment, Maddie's presence immediately stirred memories of a life once left behind. As she entered the farmhouse, her expensive phone clutched tightly in one hand, and her 4-year-old son, Cooper, hovering uncertainly near a mismatched kitchen chair, she exuded an air of hurried determination. Cooper, dressed in a boutique sweater and silently observing the world around him, seemed almost out of place amid the faded charm of the family home. His small fingers traced patterns in the condensation on his milk glass, a quiet, innocent counterpoint to the tensions simmering between his mother and grandmother. "Look who finally remembered where her mother lives," Patricia had said with a wry edge as she regarded Maddie with a mixture of reproach and resignation. The comment, though laced with sarcasm, belied a deeper worry. Maddie's hurried return was not merely a social call, but a plea for assistance. Maddie, juggling the relentless demands of the tech startup world in Seattle, defended her choices with a nervous energy. "Mom, please," she had murmured, trying to justify the impossible balancing act between ambition and motherhood. "You know how crazy work has been. The tech sector doesn't exactly run on small-town schedules." In her mind, every meeting and every sleepless night was a necessary sacrifice to secure a future on her own terms. Yet even as she spoke, her eyes darted nervously toward Cooper, whose quiet demeanor and thoughtful gaze betrayed the toll of recent upheavals. The kitchen became a battleground for clashing values and generations. Patricia, a woman who had spent her life nurturing both the land and her family, could not understand how Maddie could prioritize lofty ambitions over the simple, essential duty of raising a child. "Sit up straight, Cooper, honey," Patricia instructed softly, offering him a glass of milk as she tried to bridge the gap between what was and what might have been. Her tone softened momentarily as she addressed the child, yet when her eyes met Maddie's, a steely resolve returned. "You need something, or you wouldn't have graced us with your presence," she chided, each word carrying the weight of years spent on the farm and the heartbreak of watching her daughter slip further away from those roots. Maddie's responses came in rapid, half-whispered explanations. She spoke of opportunities and the promise of her startup, a dream nurtured in the bright corridors of West Coast University and refined during countless late-night meetings over coffee. In her mind, every connection, every strategic decision had been a step toward building something magnificent. Dean Harrison Matthews, with his salt and pepper hair and Silicon Valley savvy, had once seemed like the perfect mentor. His backing had promised a future where Maddie could be more than just a scholarship student struggling to escape the confines of her small-town origins. Yet as she detailed her plans that involved leaving her son with Patricia for a few months or even a year, her voice wavered, and the desperate logic of her ambitions clashed painfully with the deep maternal love that Patricia embodied. The conversation reached a crescendo when Maddie, in a moment of raw vulnerability, confessed that she needed help with Cooper. "I need to talk to you about something," she had said, her voice carefully controlled, yet trembling with the weight of her secret. "I need you to take him just for a little while, a few months, maybe a year, until I can get this startup off the ground." The words fell like a betrayal in the warm, incense-scented air of the farmhouse. Patricia's eyes narrowed and her hands stilled on the countertop. "Are you telling me you want to abandon your child for a business venture?" she demanded, her tone a mixture of disbelief and sorrow. "There are 3 people in this equation, Maddie. You sound just like your father did when he left." The accusation stung Maddie deeply. It was a reminder of past failures, and the sacrifices that had defined her journey. Inside that humble kitchen, the very air seemed to pulse with regret and unspoken reproach. Cooper, who had until now been a silent observer, looked up from his milk as if sensing the gravity of the moment. His small face, filled with uncertainty, reflected the silent plea of a child caught between two very different worlds. As Maddie's defenses crumbled, she hurried away to pack a few designer outfits and carefully arrange piles of clothes, each piece a testament to the life she had built in Seattle. With every click of her heels against the worn linoleum floor, the farmhouse echoed with the sounds of a past that refused to let go. In the dim light of the early night, as she crept down the hallway with deliberate caution, her heart pounded in her ears. She clutched her phone, now buzzing with reminders of tomorrow's investor meeting, while every step took her closer to an act of abandonment she had both dreaded and secretly longed for. The old baby monitor, with its soft green glow, became an unwitting witness to the tragedy unfolding within those walls. As Patricia discovered the silence that had replaced the usual lull of a child's laughter, her heart broke anew. She gathered Cooper in her arms, his small body trembling, with a sorrow too heavy for his years, and whispered promises that no amount of time or distance could ever sever. "Grandma's got you, Cooper," she murmured, cradling him as the moonlight filtered through the window and cast long, accusing shadows across the farmhouse. In that moment, the simple, enduring bond of family proved to be stronger than the lure of distant ambitions. Time, however, has a way of healing and redefining wounds. 3 years passed, during which the valley slowly began to reclaim its forgotten rhythms. The once neglected dairy barn had been transformed by visionary entrepreneurs into a gleaming cattle breeding facility, and the old farmhouse had been given new life with fresh paint and a sturdy wraparound deck. Yet amid these changes, the heart of the valley remained anchored in tradition and the enduring ties of kinship. On the morning of a long-awaited school ceremony, Patricia, now a respected head veterinarian, drove toward Heritage Creek Ranch. The spring morning painted the Cascade foothills in vibrant greens, a stark contrast to the memories of neglected fields. As she arrived, a ranch hand waved, and Aurora, a kind soul in charge of the facility, explained that one of the prize calves was in distress and needed attention before the ceremony. Patricia's thoughts drifted momentarily to Cooper's first day of school, a milestone she had promised not to miss. The ranch, now a symbol of the valley's renaissance, buzzed with the gentle hum of life returning to its rightful course. In the restored elementary school, children chattered excitedly, and families gathered with hope and quiet anticipation. Cooper, now a few years older, carried himself with a reserved dignity that belied the hardships of his early childhood. Dressed in a carefully chosen first-day outfit, he clutched a leather backpack with his name tooled into its flap, a small emblem of a promise kept, a future gradually reclaimed. In a tender moment on the school grounds, as the soft murmur of excited voices mingled with the distant call of cattle, Patricia recalled the days of painful departure and the relentless pursuit of dreams. The valley had been reborn, yet its lessons remained indelibly etched in every weathered farmhouse and every renovated barn. That very afternoon, as the ceremony's festivities gave way to a family gathering, a familiar sports car pulled up along the newly paved country road. Its sleek lines and modern design seemed almost alien against the backdrop of rustic fence posts and verdant fields. With a heavy heart, Patricia recognized the unwelcome sign. Jackson was there. Jackson, once the charismatic investor who had offered Maddie the chance to build her dream startup, sat comfortably on the rebuilt porch, his gaze affectionate as he studied Cooper's animated explanations of ranch projects on a tablet screen. His presence stirred a cascade of emotions in Patricia, a mixture of grief, anger, and reluctant acceptance. The sight of him, calm and assured, ignited memories of Maddie's desperate ambition and the painful choices that had led her to this crossroad. Tears threatened to spill as Patricia recalled the night Maddie had slipped away with a suitcase in hand, leaving behind not only the farmhouse's familiar comforts, but also the unspoken hope of reconciliation. At the wedding that followed, a ceremony that epitomized both renewal and forgiveness, Patricia found herself both proud and pained. Cooper, now 8 years old, had grown into a thoughtful boy whose quiet intelligence shone through even as he fidgeted with the sleeve of his miniature suit. As he performed his duties as ring-bearer, with an earnestness that drew smiles from all in attendance, Patricia could not help but marvel at how far the boy had come from that uncertain child who once hesitated before a glass of milk in a dim farmhouse kitchen. In that moment, as Jackson's vows echoed through the restored barn, a perfect blend of rustic charm and modern elegance, Maddie's tears mingled with those of her mother. The vows spoke of love that embraced not just a woman or her ambitions, but also the child who had borne the silent burdens of sacrifice. In the soft light of twilight, as guests slowly dispersed and the music of the evening lingered like a fading echo, Patricia held her grandson close. Sometimes, she whispered more to herself than to anyone else, "You have to leave home to find your way back to it." The painful years of separation, of dreams pursued at too great a cost, had given way to a tender reunion, a quiet promise that, despite the scars of past mistakes, family would always endure. With a gentle smile, she smoothed Cooper's bow tie, and, watching him share a knowing glance with his new stepfather, she understood that every misstep had led them, however circuitously, back to where they truly belonged. In that fragile, bittersweet moment of reconciliation, the old farmhouse and its sprawling, ever-changing valley bore silent witness to the enduring truth that no matter how far one may roam in search of success, the heart always yearns for home.